into this division here, the AFC North. We're going to start from worst to first from last year, which means we are starting with the Cincinnati Bengals, even though they finished 9-8. Not really a bad team, especially given that Joe Burrow went down. The win total is 10.5 for this upcoming season, Reagan. Some key losses from the squad from last year. Jonah Williams at tackle, Chidobe Awuzie at corner, DJ Reader on the interior defensive line, big loss. Joe Mixon, Tyler Boyd, some key adds. Sheldon Rankins on the interior D-line, Geno Stone at safety from the division rival Baltimore Ravens, Trent Bound at right tackle, Zach Moss at running back, and Von Bell is back on a very cheap deal in the secondary. Reagan, your thoughts on the Cincinnati Bengals? What record do you have for them for 2024?
I just want to add one more loss quick. Brian Callahan, their OC. And before people try to go, oh, come on, he's nothing special. The guy is legit. Jake Browning went 5-4 and looked like he looked like a top 16 quarterback last year. So do you really think it was Jake Browning, or do you think it was the play calling? Dude, he was putting up crazy numbers. The team had a better record with Browning than they did Burrow. Granted, Burrow was injured throughout the season before he had the big injury, but the team was 5-5 with Burrow. They were 5-4 with Browning. Or, I'm sorry, 4-3 with Browning.
Okay.
So I'm just saying Callahan's a very big loss as well. It'll be interesting to see what happens. Obviously, they stole freaking Joe Burrow. But anyway, I don't think it's going to be too big of a loss because I have them going 12-5.
Woo, doggy!
Yeah. So I'm taking the over 10.5 wins. I mean, one of the biggest reasons is they have a middle-of-the-pack schedule, and a lot of that happens when you finish dead last in the division. You get to play all the worst teams from the other divisions in the AFC. So,
dude, their schedule, according to Sharp, it's the 6th easiest projected for this season based on projected win totals. 6th easiest. While most of the division has a very difficult schedule.
Yeah,
because they finished last.
Yeah, no, their strength of schedule I saw was 18th, while the other 3 were top 3. So, I mean, while last year was unfortunate, they're not in a bad spot for this year. But yeah, I got them going 12-5. I mean, Burrow coming back. They had a ton of cap space. While they did lose some key guys, they were able to fill a lot of holes. I mean, you get Geno Stone. I mean, yeah, you lost Mixon, but I mean, Zach Moss and Chase Brown, like I think they can more than well hold their own. And I'm actually really excited about Mike Gesicki. I'm not going to lie. I'm really excited about what he can do.
Yeah, so Gesicki's an interesting player. He's kind of stiff. He doesn't really run the best routes, but he's a really big target, and he is athletic.
Yeah, so I'm excited giving Burrow a big weapon like that. And the O-line, I mean, it seems to be in the best shape it's been at any point of Burrow's career, so that also excites me a lot. So I think the combination of their schedule and just having a healthy Joe Burrow and actually building around him to keep him upright really excites me. What about you?
Yeah. So I got the Bengals at 11-6, and I actually have a few futures with the Bengals already. This was my team last year. You know, Joe Burrow got hurt, didn't come to fruition. I have the Bengals exact results over the Lions in the Super Bowl, plus 10,000 right now. I have in a future, this is a crazy one. It's like Texas to make the playoffs, Yankees to win the World Series, and then the Bengals to meet the Niners in the Super Bowl. So I'm big on the Bengals, man. They've shown that they're the only team in the AFC that can go head-to-head with Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs in the postseason. We've seen it. They've done it. If Joe Burrow's healthy, this team is going to be in the playoffs, and there's no ifs, ands, and buts about it. You know, they did start off slow last year with Joe Burrow and the calf injury. Like, clearly was not ready. After 4 weeks, though, once he was taken off the injury report, they went on a 4-1 stretch. They lost. Their only loss was to Houston on a last-second field goal. They beat San Francisco in the Super Bowl, Buffalo, playoff team, Seattle, and Arizona. Burrow was really good in those games before hurting the wrist. I like that you brought up the offensive line, Reagan. This certainly looks to be the best unit they've had in Joe Burrow's career there. They ranked 27th in ESPN's pass block win rate in 2023, 30th in 2022, and 20th in 2021. You know, Orlando Brown definitely has to play better to live up to that contract. He was 30th out of 35 left tackles in pressure rate allowed last season. That's not going to cut it. But the Amarius Mims pick out of Georgia, I love it because he's 6'8". He's a monster. So is Orlando Brown. So is Trent Brown. They're all monsters. And he's really raw. He only played 8 games at Georgia, does not have a ton of snaps. But the talent's there for him to become a dominant tackle. You already got your dominant wide receiver for Burrow for the next however many years. You develop Mims, don't rush him in, but that's a security. Like the Jets taking their tackle for Fashanu this year. It's their security, and the guy has all the tools to be a stud. I think that's really smart, and I love the pick. Actually, I think Zach Moss is going to be solid, and I like Chase Brown as a change of pace. He had like almost 800 yards and 5 touchdowns last year in Indy. Was pretty good. His metrics aren't great, but Mixon had the most goal-to-go carries in the NFL over the last 3 seasons with 74. Moss is going to be that guy for this offense. So maybe he can make a run for Henry's money with the most touchdowns in the division from the running back position. Because Chase Brown, I don't think, is going to be that guy. But, he does have speed. So I really do like the offense. The defense is the big issue for me here. They were not good last year. They were bottom 10 against the run. DJ Reader with him on the field the past 2 seasons, they were first against the run, where when he was not in the field, they were worst in yards per carry. Now he's gone. He's in Detroit. So,
well, they did get Sheldon Rankins. I mean, he's no DJ Reader, but he's better than you think. He's better than you think. So I think that will help. It's a Band-Aid. It's a Band-Aid. It ain't a great Band-Aid, but it's a Band-Aid for sure. So I think
I agree with you.
Still limited, but they'll probably be more like middle of the pack. Like they're not going to fall to the worst because they did slap one of those Dollar Tree Band-Aids on it, but we'll see what happens.
I think if this defense can just be in the middle of the pack, it's going to be a really good team. Trey Hendrickson's a stud at 17.5 sacks last season. Beast, 7th in pressure rate in the league. Miles Murphy, they took him out of Clemson in 2023 in the first round, edge rusher. Didn't really do much. Only had 3 sacks last year, but now's your time to shine, kid. Like they need help on the defensive line. Secondary's all right. It's really young. They lose Awuzie. Some young bucks are going to have to step up. Cam Taylor-Britt, DJ Turner, Jordan Battle, all young. I think this is a solid team. I got them at 11 wins and it's fueled by Joe Burrow. And I will have more futures on the Bengals to win the Super Bowl because all they got to do is get in the dance, and this is a scary team.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I agree with you completely. I think it's going to be a big season. I think we both probably agree. MVP of the team, Joe Burrow.
Joe Burrow. Yeah, Joe Burrow. X Factor. Who do you got?
So, I know there's a lot of X Factors here. There really is, because you can look at both sides of the ball. But I'm going to go with Sheldon Rankins because I already highlighted him before, but I think if he's able to help, if they can still be good against the rush, that'll be huge because obviously the secondary is going to struggle, but if they're able to at least establish that, hey, you can't run on us, then it'll alleviate some of that pressure because if they're just bleeding on the ground and in the air, they're screwed. Joe Burrow is going to have to put up a ton of points. So I have Rankins as my X factor.
I went with a combination of the offensive line unit, but most specifically Orlando Brown. If Joe Burrow's healthy, this team's going to win. If he's hurt, they have no chance. No team has a chance without their star quarterback in this league. So Orlando Brown's got to protect his blind side, but as a whole, the unit needs to protect Burrow more so than he ever has in his career because he will light up defenses. Doesn't matter what coverage they're in. They'll figure it out. Joe Burrow's going to dice him up. Rookie of the year.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Burton here just because I think he'll get more use than Mims. And for Mims to get use, we'd be basically rooting for injuries, which I don't want to do. So I'm going to go with Burton here and just go with that everybody's healthy and that he does end up winning that number 3 role. Or even if he doesn't necessarily win it, he still has a high enough snap percentage that he's having an impact, especially down the stretch, setting himself up for a big role in the future.
Yeah, it's a draft class with not a ton of immediate help. Mims is not going to start right away. Burton could be that third wide receiver. I'm going to go Chris Jenkins. The interior defensive lineman from Michigan was really good in that championship front last year. He might start more so in 2025, but if they still struggle against the run early on, I think Jenkins can get thrust into the mix and could potentially earn himself a role on a playoff team. So I think Chris Jenkins can have a big impact in the middle of that defense.
Yeah,
all right.
That's a good one as well.
Let's move on.